Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. Many years ago, I did a storytelling presentation for an elementary school in Clear Lake, Iowa. During those assemblies, I often tell the Three Billy Goats Gruff story, but I always tell it in Norwegian. One of the special ed teachers told me later that on the way back to the classroom, she asked a little boy what his favorite story was that I told. He told her, the one about the three billy goats. But she said, "You couldn't understand it because it was in Norwegian." To which the little boy replied, "But I know the story." Wow. But I know the story. The power of the story. There's a story about the great Rabbi Baal Shem Tov, who, when he felt his people were threatened, would go to a secret part of the forest to pray. There he would light a special fire, say a special prayer, and the disaster would be averted. When it came to his successor to deal with the misfortunes of his people, he too would go to the special place in the forest and pray, "Great Master of the universe, I do not know how to light this special fire, but I can say this special prayer, and this must be sufficient." It was, and the disaster was averted. When his successor faced difficult times, he would go to the special place in the forest and on behalf of his people pray, "Great Master of the universe, I do not know how to light this special fire. I do not know how to say this special prayer, but I know the place, and this must be sufficient." It was, and the disaster was again averted. When it fell to his successor to deal again with the misfortunes of his people, he would sit in his armchair with his palms uplifted and pray, "Great Master of the universe, I'm unable to light the special fire. I do not know the prayer. I cannot even find the place in the forest. But I know the story, and this must be sufficient." And it was. I love that story because in the end, it shows the power of knowing a story. The story of the greater world or countries, the story of our communities, the stories of our families, and ultimately knowing our story. Our lives are story, and we relate to others and communicate with stories all the time. It's these stories where we find meaning, we make meaning, we explore our purpose, we discover who we are, and where we heal our wounded souls. What do you know about your story? That is an important question. When I asked my dad why he was so effective at counseling, he wouldn't say what he did was magic or not. He just said, "I always say when people come in, 'Well, tell me about it.'" Hmm. People learn about who they are and how to heal by telling their stories. Last week, I was spending the day with my mom and sister Frida. Frida gave me permission to share her story, and I'm so grateful. Frida is 2 years younger than me and has never been married. That has always been the biggest mystery to me because she has such a special personality. She is intelligent, joyful, caring, talented, beautiful inside and out, and such a fun person to be around. In our conversation, she related how she has reflected on her life and her singleness. She would have loved to have known what it was like to be loved and in love with someone in a marriage relationship, to have been able to have and raise children. But Frida didn't. And she said, "My singleness gave me the privilege of bringing Mom and Papa into my home and caring for them." She went on to say, "I've thought about all the things that happened in my life, the places I have been able to go, the experiences I have had, and although it would have been wonderful to have been married, I can say that if I had to live it again, I wouldn't change a thing." This is a person who has come to know her story and accept it as the best story for her. Frida said, "I do not want to live in regret, so I decided to look at it as the best way for me to have lived." She has made friends with her story and lives in peace. That's not only beautiful, but ever so wise. Here we are, two sisters with a similar philosophy. People ask me how I can be so cheerful all the time. Well, I live by two philosophies of life. One, every day when I get up, I look forward to something, even to a first cup of coffee. And 2, like Frida, I don't want to be 108 years old and look back at my life and say, "Why didn't I?" Regret often makes one bitter. Steve and Annie Chapman sang together during the 1970s about issues we face as humans. One song I will never forget was about two siblings who grew up together with an abusive father. In the end, one lived in peace and the other in bitterness. The reason for the difference was that one of the siblings forgave the father and the other did not. Sometimes, if our own stories do not bring peace, cause regret or bitterness, it might be good to do some healthy and deeply internal reflection so that you can shed those regrets. Find ways of reframing life to see what good came because of what happened. Reflect deeply so you can forgive people, yourself, or whatever caused you not to live the original life you had hoped for. This week, on your bathroom mirror, write, "I will examine my story so that I may live in peace." Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.